Brian here with EMF protection in a farmhouse. People that I talk to out there want to increase their Wi-Fi across their house. And in a house like this with a stone wall, the Wi-Fi router, being in this particular location, is blocked from getting at the rest of the house. And I'm just going to show you this. So here's the Wi-Fi router, and you have that stone wall there that blocks the signal from getting into the house. But actually, just to trick you up a little bit here, we're actually making this video not to increase Wi-Fi throughout the house, but we're creating this video to show you how to get away from Wi-Fi. More and more people want to get away from Wi-Fi because they've heard of ill effects, or they themselves don't feel comfortable in their homes. And so what I do is show people how to do this. Now, my customer is a naturopath, and she had Wi-Fi in this one room, and the whole idea is to get the Wi-Fi away from this room, but then, of course, there's no signal in the rest of the house. So we did a hardwire, and I'm going to show you this. So here's the internet coming in from the outside source, and here is a flat, shielded Ethernet cable that is basically hooked up to a Belkin adapter for an iPhone in here, and then we have a grounding item here, because these are not plugged in with 2-prong or with 3-prong plugs. So we start off with a grounding adapter, and then we feed Ethernet on another flat cable through the house. And I'm going to show you this. So it goes into the hallway here. Look at that. It's all tucked away nicely. Now you could hardwire this. That's an extra step, but this is an example where hardwiring wasn't an option. So here is a TP link. Now this box is big, has a lot of ports that are not being used and never will be used, but the whole point in this is that it's a metal chassis with a 3-prong plug. And what that does is helps to ground it out instead of elevating electric fields throughout the house. So now there you can see that the cord runs along the baseboard and tucks into this room, or actually goes up and around and is hidden very nicely and tucks in under here. And now there is like a leash here that's hung up, and so you can just pull that out and do work at the table or plug in for the printers. Now this goes from the TP link, so this minimizes the number of wires that go through the house, and we feed one upstairs, and that goes to another TP link and feeds the bedrooms up there, and it's just as clean and tidy. So this allows this family to completely get off of Wi-Fi and still have full internet. So we had a cord here in the previous frame, and I'm just going to show you, this will eventually be tacked behind the wall and around behind the sofa over to the TV. And there's a computer. So this is an example where Netflix is used, and you can see there's an adapter that plugs into the computer. And so it's a way to run the TV without Wi-Fi and run through Netflix on a computer through the HDMI cord. That's right. Yep. And so then with an adapter. With an adapter, right. And there's the adapter for this particular computer. So there's a way to run the TV completely without Wi-Fi. So the reason I showed you the TV is because a lot of my customers, they'll say that they're having issues in the house. They don't like the way potentially it's impacting the kids with the frequencies in the air. So what happens is I'll come in and make these suggestions, and here's an example where you can actually run your TV off of Ethernet and not have it. You could hardwire this into the house walls. You can get an electrician in. We've done that, and they'll do a fantastic job. But if you're not ready to do that as a full-time commitment, then you can do this method. It works perfectly if you still want to move around the space and be able to tidy up and put the leads away, the Ethernet cords away. Then this house is a perfect example of that. These clips are called command strips. This is what was used by the homeowner, Dr. Don Cormier, who is a naturopath, my naturopath in Stratford, Ontario. She mounted the TP-Link switch boxes to the wall with these, which are removable. And then these are the stickies, and I have a another example of stickies as well that work for mounting the Ethernets to the walls and the ceilings. Sometimes they fail after time. Here's a more permanent way to do it with, you can undo this, but it puts holes in the walls, the clips. So here's an example where the sticky didn't hold, and so this more permanent nail worked much better. So many of us have a student or children at home that are using devices and have become used to using wireless devices. The homeowner is having an issue with the Wi-Fi and the wireless and wants it to be turned off, but there's a bit of a challenge in the house to do that with the kids around. And so here's an example where this has been managed, and you can see another TP-Link box which services. There's an input of 1 Ethernet and then 3 out for the 3 different bedrooms, and this one travels along the baseboard, and you can see that even a student or your son or daughter could lie in their bed and use their phone to use apps, scroll things like Facebook, watch Netflix, and use a Belkin adapter on the phone and have it on airplane mode. The same thing applies to iPads and as well as computers. So they could be in the computer and in the room and not require Wi-Fi. So one of the things that was a challenge for this house was that the Wi-Fi router is in a different part of the house on the other side of a stone wall, so it blocks the signal. So we could still get signal here, but it was weak and caused a lot of problems. But normally, what would a family do? They would get boosters, and then they would amp it up. They would amp the Wi-Fi up in the sleeping spaces, and that's what we try to avoid. So the whole purpose of this hardwiring has been that we can do everything we want to do without Wi-Fi. And a lot of the houses that I go into are wall-to-wall amped up Wi-Fi. And this is a solution that you can avoid doing that. And this is Delilah. She is a Wi-Fi free dog, and she is loving it. So your pets will thank you for doing this. And so here we are, where there's a doorway to a bedroom, and you can see the Ethernet comes in, wraps around the frame, and hides behind the door, and is rolled up onto one of those command hangers. Works really great. So with all of that said, this is a way to hardwire and get away from using Wi-Fi. Now, you could turn on the Wi-Fi if you wanted to. That option doesn't go away. But what I'm finding is that the new services that are being provided by companies, the main telecom companies, are going away from being able to turn off your Wi-Fi. So that kind of leaves you in a position where you have to pull the plug on it and have no Wi-Fi or no internet in the house. But there are options around that, not necessarily with those companies, but with other companies. So it's something to talk to us about if you're having an issue with that. But I also wanted to say that what I've shown you here is a really good step in the direction of getting hardwired for the average person. If you are a sensitive person like I am, and what I mean by that is the same structure here, I'm sensitive to Wi-Fi, but in a situation where I've managed the Wi-Fi, I could hardwire my computer, my mouse, my keyboard, even my mouse, my rollerball mouse will zap me. Now that is sensitive. 9.9 out of 10 people holding onto that mouse wouldn't feel any sensation. So we have to go a level further, which this video doesn't address. But you can reach out, contact us, and we will help you through those important steps for really sensitive people as well, and hope that we can come up with some kind of resolution. Thank you for watching this video. Big shout out and thanks to Naturopathic Health and Wellness Center in Stratford for making this a possibility, Dr. Cormier. It's important to note that this is not a complete solution for reducing EMFs. It is a small sliver, it's a portion in the area of radio frequency specific to a Wi-Fi router and some of the connecting devices as a solution. Also, keep in mind that if you are in a home with toddlers and youngsters, you may be wise to embed or fiche these wires through the walls. and have it properly done by an electrician mounting plates on the walls that you can connect into. Keeping these wires properly out of the way from tripping or getting caught up in is the approach that we recommend. In addition, I had mentioned adapters. There are several types to consider. There are grounding adapters, there are ground loop adapters, there are adapters for plugging in your Ethernet to your USB into your computer. We also came across an adapter for HDMI into a computer. So lots of, some of those adapters, for example, work with some devices and not others. So we have the experience, it's trial and error. We have the experience of which works with which device. And lastly, I'd like to impress upon you that the solution that you saw in today's video is not a replacement for an EMF assessment. All of these radio frequencies and EMF are invisible. Once they are properly uncovered, they also need to be dealt with from a standpoint of knowledge on how to do so. It's a game of whack-a-mole. You can find one EMF and reduce it, but create a whole nother EMF that is also potentially a problem. A lot of customers come to us because they are concerned about 5G. And in my opinion, that's a valid concern. However, when we go to a home inspection, what we do is often find that the culprit is from inside the home. It could be magnetic fields, it could be dirty electricity, it could be high electric fields, also carrying dirty electricity, and of course the radio frequency that could be coming from inside the house, a neighbor source, particularly in high density living like semis, condos in the sky. All of those have specific requirements to address them. And then of course there's the cell towers which are outside, which have the 4G LTE advanced and the newer low band 5G, and potentially in the future mid band and high band 5G. So for all of these concerns, there are professional ways to deal with. We suggest that you hire a professional to uncover those and deal with them properly. Thanks for watching.